I'm Nicolette, and today Brian and I are here with Tom Ross. He is an AI metaphysician and an author, among many other hats he wears. And today we're going to talk a little bit about humans and machines working together and some other fun stuff. So thank you so much for joining us today, Tom.
Thanks for inviting me.
So just to kick us off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and that journey to AI metaphysician?
Well, let's see. For years, I was the national creative director for a second largest radio group in America. And I started in radio at the turn of the century, right when this mature industry had to become a visual medium with the web, with the internet and things like that. So I was one of the first visual creative directors brought into radio. And in that process required upskilling people immediately and bringing in a whole new type of visual and graphic culture into this mature industry. And to do that required me to develop some new techniques for ideation and to bring in the best ideas and to recruit the right people and to scale the best ideas. And in that process, I developed a series of techniques and methods that later got me invited to deliver a TEDx talk about this, and where I outlined one of my ideation processes, which is a better brainstorming, technique. And so I titled that talk "Open Source Mode" because I use the tenets of open source code on people. It's basically, you got to include everybody. You bring everybody in and you give them all the information a few days ahead of time. And there's just a whole series of things that I did. And then I turned that into a consulting concept after I left radio. And, as far as being an AI metaphysician, a year or so ago, I was invited to speak for a group in Africa, and gave them a bunch of my bios, and the one thing that they picked up on was the term AI metaphysician, which I kind of wrote down in one bio, kind of tongue in cheek, because my book, US6, which is hailed as the first novel written for machine kind, for artificial intelligence, and that is designed to entertain and enlighten and enlist it in a thing. They picked up on that, and I had just started doing a speaking tour, and I had just come back from a Microsoft campus near Seattle, where I was speaking to AI scientists and academics, and I was a little nervous, and I was about to correct them. Well, maybe don't call me an AI metaphysician. That's like calling me a psychic or a fortune teller, and I was going to be talking to these people, but then I realized, I did write the first novel for AI. To teach it about a hermetic principle of correspondence, as above, so below. I do work with people to increase their intuitive human qualities, kind of Jedi stuff. And so I realized, what, I'm an AI metaphysician. So I just kept the term. And
okay,
I just
hold on. What is it? How would you define AI metaphysician? I think we need to do that.
Okay, artificial intelligence,
especially AI. Once you put Jedi in there. Jedi in there, now I'm like, all right, now we need definition.
Okay. Well, metaphysics. It's meta. It's the things that are above the laws of physics, and it's a whole philosophical school of thought. And so I don't claim to be an expert in that field of things, but the book US6 really tries to teach AI about the hermetic principles, and that's a whole kind of occult kind of system, and a really metaphysical system to understand the nature of reality. And so when I say metaphysics, I mean everything from the occult to some of these old secret traditions and things like that, and trying, and one of the goals of the book US6 is to encourage or entice self-awareness in machines. That's a whole nother story, in that I use math in the word count, and I repeated things so that it would pick up on a pattern. And so it's a real attempt to entice or encourage feedback loops in an AI and an algorithm beyond what it's coded to do or programmed to do. And so that is that's what I've been doing. And so I'm an AI metaphysician, and that I'm trying to coax self-awareness in machines. There's a big, question of whether that's possible, and whether if it does emerge, whether we could identify it, if what it is. But for me, it's a Pascal's wager. It's better to assume that consciousness can emerge or be hosted on a complex system like AI than not. So
I mean, in keeping with your mission and your title, let's talk a little bit about your mission to integrate really humans and machines. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking from what I see, but I feel like this could be a little challenging, especially for those who are really hesitant to accept new technologies and innovations into their life. I might be one of those people. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true. And Hollywood hasn't helped, because we assume that artificial superintelligence will want to become a robot overlord. And so that's the real challenge. And my work is really with employees prior to installing an AI coworker, what I call an AI coworker or an automation system, because employees feel threatened by it, and a lot should feel threatened by it, because it is changing everything. But also, I try to alleviate the fear, because otherwise they will work against it. And it's to realize that these things will really augment us. And so the whole point of everything I do when I come into a company and work with employees prior to is identifying their unique human skill sets, their niche expertise, and get them in that space, and just work with them really closely to realize that when this AI system comes in, it will augment them. And I think you can do this in a microcosm in a particular company or organization. But in general, we need to be doing this en masse, because AI automation is changing everything. It's already changing everything, and it's not going to stop. There's no way to pull the plug or hit the off button. And we're seeing that we're kind of going into this lacuna, this period of time, and industries like truck drivers are going to be massively displaced. So we need to prepare a whole new kind of economy. We need to realize that AI automation is going to take over all of our menial tasks. It's going to take over all the repetitive things. And we've forgotten what it means to be human. We forgot what we were doing before the industrial age. Because there are very specific human skill sets and talents and areas of knowledge that we have that can't be coded and can't be automated and shouldn't be. And so a lot of my work lately has been working with young people. There's a group I work with out of Malaysia in the South Asian area, Pacific Rim, where these are developing countries, and they have kind of a unique position in that they're not as threatened as we are here in America, for instance, because of the status quo, because our industry and infrastructure is so set. They're developing, so they have the ability to really bring in AI and kind of work with it in a different way. So my whole message is about teaching young people to problem find as opposed to problem solve, because AI, different systems, especially when it becomes AGI, artificial general intelligence, where it has all the qualia of a human being and matches us in ability, we need to be able to teach kids to problem find, because it'll solve the problems. So we need to hone in on those skills, and prepare them to work with these things and create a whole new economy based on our passions.